Good morning, everyone, and I am currently driving through the town of Werribee, which is our local town. Werribee, by the way, is an Aboriginal word meaning spine because the Werribee River curves like a spine, and so the First Nations people around here named it Werribee. It's an old colonial era town, and at one stage, of course, it was a country town, but then as Melbourne expanded, it became a suburban town, and where I live is not too far away from here. What we're going to do is we're going to go down through the market area, the market garden area, where all the green fruit and vegetables are grown for Melbourne. It's quite close to where I live, and there's some really rich volcanic soil around there, so lots of food gets grown really well, and the soil is nice, rich red soil. It's quite lovely, and it leads down towards a place called Campbell's Cove, about which I will speak more in a little bit. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning here, and it's still quite cold. According to the car, it's 7 degrees centigrade outside, which isn't cold for Canadians, but for us it's pretty cold because we're not suited to it, and nor are our houses, to be honest with you. So we freeze in this kind of weather. I've got friends who live in Darwin, and they freeze when it gets to 20 degrees centigrade. It just depends on what you're used to. But we're heading down there this morning because Campbell's Cove is an interesting place. We're just getting out of Werribee now, and when we go over the bridge, we'll be in the market garden area. They grow cabbages and leeks and kale and all sorts of vegetables down there, and have done for a very long time. It's on a bit of a peninsula on the side of Port Phillip Bay, which is the big bay south of Melbourne. It's the one Melbourne's attached to. Even though it isn't actually a bay, what it is technically, it's called an embayment, which means it's a bay made up of a whole bunch of different bays, because cartographers seem to want to have fun with that kind of an idea. So when we get over the bridge here, which I hope to do very soon after I get past this truck, to the left you can go down to the Melbourne Open Range Zoo, which is a crazy good zoo, which has rhinos and giraffes and lions and gorillas and all sorts of other animals in an open range setting. It's quite a large zoo. In fact, it's the biggest one in the state at this stage. See, there's a vegetable truck in front of us. We've got free memberships there. I really should do a video down at the zoo again and maybe talk about African movies, because there are a lot of African animals there. But for now, we're not going near that. We're going down to Campbell's Cove, which I'll be turning off to the left to get to just after we get into the market garden area. You go further south, you can get down to Wyndham Harbour, which I may take you to at the end of the video, which is a really nice little marina and harbour we know of. And if it's open, I may be able to get myself a decent coffee there. And here I go, changing lanes. So yeah, off to the right there, you go down the side road there, you're at the zoo. And if you look over to the left, you'll start seeing all of the market gardens. They grow the fruit and veg all year round here. There are also increasingly some greenhouses where they're growing things like strawberries all year round. So the people who own it are diversifying a lot and getting full value for their money. So off to the right there, you'll probably see some green veg growing in the paddocks. I like living around here. It's great. You've got big open skies. There's not hills blocking the skies. There's not too many trees blocking the skies. And you can get to a nice beach to walk along without too much effort. So, by the way, I am getting a video recorded this afternoon, which is the one that comes out Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on where you live. And I'm doing that this afternoon because that's normally when I record videos. But this one I thought I'd get out because I like it around here. I wanted to show you the area in which I live. And I love it just cruising along here, heading towards either Campbell's Cove or the beach, doesn't matter which. But yeah, these have been here for about half a century, all of these big market gardens. They really are the kind of they are the vegetable basket of the area. And without it, Melbourne would be depending on vegetables trucked in from Queensland, which is like 2,500 kilometres away. They still get some from up in Queensland, but all this local stuff is great. They do have a couple of stores along the other road which will sell you the fresh produce and eggs. They have a couple of chicken farms here as well. Is this the one to Campbell's Cove? No, that's the Point Cook one. So I won't take that one. I'll take the next road, unless I've stuffed this up, which is always a possibility. But yeah, it's great certain times of the year when you cruise along here. In the summertime, they've got all the sprinklers going. You can see one of the tractors here coming along, slowing traffic the way they do. And one of the things they grow here is fennel, which is used mostly for things like porchetta and pork things. And there are lots and lots of the farms that grow fennel. But if you go along these irrigation ditches, like you'll see just past the tree line on the left, in the summertime the fennel just grows wild down there. So if you know what you're doing, you never have to pay for fennel, because you can just grab some, particularly down as you get towards the water, which is very cool. And I love the fact that I can do that and just go and grab that stuff. Now, I don't think this is a turn-off. I think it's the next one along. And of course we've got roadworks, because always we have roadworks. But fortunately they haven't started them yet. Now, I'm fairly sure the turn-off for Campbell's Cove is down here somewhere. But if I've missed it, I'll swing around and come back, because I do want to show you the magic of Campbell's Cove. So how is everyone today? If you're up in the north, obviously you're hot and you're sweaty and all that kind of thing, and your nuts stick to your thigh and all that kind of stuff. But down here, it's crazy cold. In fact, it's unusually cold for us. And I've missed the turn-off, which is wonderful. So what I'm going to do is chuck a U-ey, which is what we call making a U-turn here. So I'm going to do a sneaky here and quickly chuck my U-ey and head back to where we came. I don't think I'm sufficiently caffeinated this morning, so mea culpa on this one. And there we go, over the little bumps. There are two of these, and if you take them at 100 kilometres an hour, you can actually get air coming over here, but I won't do it today because the road's covered in a bit of mud, so I don't really want to risk it for the biscuit. Actually, I should slow down here. Actually, I think it's Aviation Drive I need to take, which is not this one, but the next right-hander. down along the road here. Yeah, we've actually got a bit of a chill factor at the moment because the air is quite humid around here, and that means that it feels colder than it is. So you get that kind of damp chilliness about the air. And you can see a boat just went past, heading down towards the harbour. Yeah, there are a lot of new and old houses around here because the people who own the market gardens built their houses and then built bigger houses and just left the old ones there. And there are old sheds on the side of the road which they used to use for getting their equipment. They become a really big industry, and the really big industry just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Here we go. This should be it now. We're heading into just past sunrise, and if you squint really hard you can see the city skyline of Melbourne there on the left, just to the left of centre. You may not be able to see very clearly, but I can. Some of these roads aren't looked after as much as they should be, but when we get to Campbell's Cove, they actually fixed up the road, fortunately. Once upon a time, a few years ago, the road to Campbell's Cove was more pothole than road, but they did fix it up and put in some speed humps and things like that, but it was a nightmare to get to at one stage until the locals complained to the council. Occasionally, but usually in warmer weather than this, along the side here you'll see a lot of rabbits, and rabbits here in Australia are actually a pest. They're not an animal that we like having in our environment. They use resources that indigenous animals need. They breed like rabbits, and they become a real pest, which is why they have the rabbit-proof fence, also named, that's in the movie by Philip Noyce about indigenous kids getting taken from their parents. Rabbit-proof fence was actually laid across a lot of the country to stop the rabbits getting west of the fence and invading a lot of native areas, native animal areas. So yeah, you can see some of the houses are older than others here. And for the most, and if we keep going straight ahead here, you end up at Point Cook Air Force Base. And Point Cook Air Force Base I've actually landed in because once upon a time when I was young and callow, I worked for the Defence Department, and I partly worked for the Air Force, and then I worked for the Navy. But when I was working for the Air Force, they said to us one bright and sunny day, "Do you want to go to ride in a helicopter?" And everybody I know went, "Yep, absolutely," and we did. And I've taken the wrong road again. I'm going to pull over and get my phone to give me instructions on this shit. Because I've taken the wrong road. A little bit of a bump here. Riveting content. And we're back again. Okay, let's see what we...
Left onto Aviation Road.
Okay, I did that.
Continue on Aviation Road for 1 kilometre.
Okay, I'll continue for 1 kilometre. I missed the turn off again. I'm usually really good with directions and finding myself where I need to be, but for some reason this morning I'm insufficiently caffeinated. I've had breakfast, but I haven't had enough caffeine, so I know probably we'll need to turn off to the left down here. I was too busy.
600 metres, turn left onto Cunningham's Road.
Yep, this is it. So I did get here eventually, but just missed the turn off, which is my fault. Market garden area next 10 kilometres. Here we go.
Take the next left onto Cunningham's Road.
Okay, from now I'm going to shut this off. And this road leads down to Campbell's Cove. All the way down. Yep, so Campbell's Cove is interesting because there are about 120 small huts down there, which are basically weekenders. They're little weekend shacks that people have had over most of the 20th century. And the council, for a while, kept trying to get rid of them because they weren't really adding much value to the area. But they're all really interesting little sheds, basically, where people spend their weekends, spend their vacations in the summertime. And they're right on the waterfront. When global warming hits and the bay fills up a bit more, the shacks are going to go. But for the moment they're there, and they're all individuals. Some of them are painted wildly interesting colours. Some of them aren't. They usually have solar power and water tank that fills from the roof of the shed. Just be careful going past this truck. And so you're not allowed to live there permanently. That's one of the council rules. You can have your boat there. You can go there on weekends and things like that, but you're not allowed to live there permanently for reasons known only to minor bureaucrats. But you might just start seeing the bay ahead here. But Campbell's Cove, I love, and very few people in Melbourne know about it. All the people in the big smoke just simply don't know it's here. They know there are some beach sheds on the posh side of the bay, which is the other side of Port Phillip Bay, and all of those sell for like $200,000 each. But these little Campbell's Cove weekenders are all but unknown to most people who live here. And there's the bay looking very serene at the moment, and we'll turn here and come along here, and you'll start seeing all of these little sheds. They're not allowed to build new ones. They are allowed to repair them and maintain the old ones, but they're not allowed to build the new ones. And here we come to the first of the speed bumps. So they're really beautiful. I love them. I love the kind of random bohemianness of them. And so you can see some people are here now because it is actually school holidays. So there's a legit reason for people to be here in all of these little sheds you can see just down here. And the tide is definitely in because it's lapping against the edges of the sheds. Of course, we've got somebody coming the other way. But yeah, all of them are right down on the water's edge. And at the end, there's a car park. And if you look straight ahead, you'll see the skyline of Melbourne. But all the people who live there don't know about this. It's a definite hidden area and a kind of liminal space for Melbourne. And once upon a time, a friend of mine called Claire made a little science fiction movie which nobody knows about because it didn't get any distribution. It was made on a shoestring budget. It was made with just friends and bits of plastic sheeting called Liminal. And Claire filmed part of it down here at Campbell's Cove. I've got a copy of it, and I might actually ask Claire if she minds me putting it up on the channel. If she does, I won't do it, but I like what she did with her little movie. But yeah, the waterfront along here is lovely. It does get very smelly from the weed, because when the tide goes out you can smell the weed, but I suppose it's the same in places like Morecambe and other places. You get the stink of anaerobic bacteria at some stage when the tide goes out, and also you get the blood and bone fertiliser they use on the market gardens over to the left there. So it just depends on when you get here how it smells, and the smells never worry me. They're organic, they're natural, they're not smells that are caused by pollution or industrial waste or anything like that. They're all smells that are very much part of the natural world. And here's the car park at the end, just before if you go further north here, you will get to Point Cook Air Force Base. But I'm going to park here, and I'm going to get the phone out and film some of the houses while I'm talking to you on my dog and bone. So you can see the first one of these sheds there. So what I'm going to do is turn off the GoPro I've got mounted in the car and start using my phone as the main camera. I've got separate audio so I can do that. So we'll turn that off. We will now turn the camera off as well. And we're back again, and we are along the beach there. If you look out there, and I'll get my finger out of the bloody way. If you look out there, those in the water there are black swans, because Australia has black swans and they live around here. You get pelicans, you get black swans. There's one that's a bit closer so you can kind of see it a bit better. And of course it dips its head down as soon as I said that. But yeah, we have black swans with red beaks here. It's not a Loch Ness monster. And then you get over here and you've got all the little sheds of Campbell's Cove. I'll go off the beach and up there because sand is getting in my somewhat holy shoes. But yeah, they're all here and they're beautifully done up, and they travel all the way along there, so there are tons of them. Sorry if it's a bit shaky, I'm using handheld phone here. But I love this area. It's got a beautiful vibe about it. It's very peaceful. You can get away from things here and just enjoy yourself. There is a bit of dog shit on the ground though. Classy. But yeah, they stretch all the way along to the point there and beyond. And they're painted up beautifully. Some of them really are wonderfully decorated. Well, of course you can hear the seagulls. The universal, literal sound of seagulls. You can see from the fence lines, you can see from these roofs there, that some of these places have been here for a very long time. Some have got under shed storage. If it was a lot warmer, it'd be much nicer being out here. I'm not going to travel all the way along here, but I will go a little bit further. I don't want to disturb any of the people who are here because there are cars parked up just ahead. But you got this way, which has got a owl on the roof and a seagull in the window. They're beautiful. In fact, I came down here one day and they were performing a wedding on the waterfront. You got somebody's boat there, and you go back up towards the car. And particularly on a weekday morning, there's nobody here really. On weekends it gets busy, There's a little weather vane shaped like a dolphin. But yeah, let me know if you like this kind of content, because it is a bit of an experiment for me. It's a bit different. Yeah, I normally talk about movies and stuff and TV shows, but getting out and about's a good thing. Had I had the money, I'd be very tempted to get one of these places. So if you want to become a Patreon supporter, if you aren't already, and in fact this is going out to the Patreon supporters first, if I get enough of you, I'll get one of these places and turn it into a permanent studio for recording videos with a view across the bay. And here we are back at the car. I'll turn on the other camera when we get in the car. And we'll head down to Wyndham Harbour, where I think I can get a cup of coffee. And we're just leaving now. I won't... Oh yes, actually we'll talk all the way back to Wyndham Harbour. And then we'll end the video some stage along there. It's a bit bumpy. You get another view of the market gardens there. The weird thing is the market gardens don't have any fences around here. So if you hit them at the right time of day, you may well be able to grab some free veg. I wouldn't advise it because, you know, these people work hard for what they do. But there's definitely the possibility. I think they're growing carrots in there. Fantastic soil around here. And all the water they get actually comes from the other side of the river via a pipeline, and it's water that's been recycled from the sewage treatment plant. It's clean water. It's not drinkably clean, but it's clean enough to do agriculture with. And they used to just put it into the bay, but the local market gardeners cut a deal, and so particularly when there's drought and things like that, there's still plenty of fruit and veg around because, well, vegetables at least, because they get their water supply from people flushing their toilets. And it's a really nice way to recycle things. You can actually see a better view of the back of the sheds here. But yeah, they do that, so there's always water, regardless of what's happening in the environment for these areas and for the market gardens, which is very smart. The pipeline didn't cost much, and everybody gains by it. Yeah, having one of these would be great. You need your own electricity supply. There's no electricity, so it's all solar here if you have it, or you get a Jenny out when you want to do things. But for the most part, it's solar, and water supply is from just rainwater tanks. A lot more panels than there used to be. That's good to see. So we're coming to the end of it now. You can see further along the bay, and that down the bottom there is Wyndham Harbour. The walking track from Wyndham Harbour to here is being fixed. So at some stage, people will be able to walk all the way from Wyndham Harbour right up here and do a bayside walking trail, which doesn't exist at the moment. But at some stage in the future, it soon will. And I want to do the walking track when it does open, because, you know, these are places I love, and they're local, and they don't get down here often enough. And when we had all the lockdowns back in the dark times, this was a place I could access. You know, I couldn't go into the city. There was a 20-kilometre radius at times where you could go, and the only reasons you could go were exercise and things like that. And don't at me about us being locked down and imprisoned by COVID. That's all bullshit, and I won't truck any of that stuff. We got our vaccines later than a lot of other countries did because we had a shit government. And while that was happening, we kept locked down so that people wouldn't die. And by all estimates, 100,000 people were kept alive by the fact we had lockdowns. And it was tough. It wasn't great for anybody at all, ever. But we had enough social responsibility that we did keep to the rules for the most part, apart from dickheads. And it did slow the spread of the virus and kept a hell of a lot of us alive. People with pre-existing conditions like myself, a middle-aged geek girl. Lots of people are here now because we had the guts to do the right thing and didn't act like 5-year-olds who want to go and play on the playground. And here's a big truck up ahead because of course there is. They are building more houses around here, which is in some ways worrying because the more houses you build, the less you've got for arable land. But hopefully that won't happen too much. And we're heading up to the main road again. Then we'll head down to Wyndham Harbour. Yeah, when I'm not talking during these videos, I am going to fast forward the footage because it's a lot better than just, you know, dead air, basically. And because I used to do the radio once upon a time, for 13 years, I did a weekly radio thing for ABC local radio in the Northern Territory of Australia, where I talked about movies. Get away, bird. And there was always that real worry about dead air because in the ABC, if for some reason there is dead air on the radio and like the presenter or something went to the toilet and forgot to get back to the microphone, they'd play emergency music that cuts in automatically, and the person involved gets in a lot of trouble from management because dead air is the biggest sin on ABC radio, apart from, you know, talking about human rights violations in the Middle East. But yeah, so really enjoyed doing that. But when they changed format and changed the presenter, the kinds of movies I wanted to talk about weren't the kinds of movies I wanted to talk about. So I quit very politely and cordially. And I love the people in Darwin particularly who did the radio with me. They were marvellous people, salt of the earth. I learned a lot from them. Hopefully I taught them a little bit about movies. But I just got to the stage where I was concentrating on the channel, and I really wanted this channel to be viable, and not doing the radio and all the prep that was required for doing the radio allowed me to get an extra video in every week and kind of work from there. So I kind of miss doing the radio sometimes. The back and forth with the presenters was always fun, but with, you know, things have a natural finishing point in life, and so I ended the radio thing. I learned a lot. I learned so much about what to say and what not to say, and how to express myself. And I'm eternally grateful to all of the presenters and producers I worked with. But it's just one of those things that really you have to acknowledge when it's not working for you, when it stops being fun. And I think for a lot of people who do creative things, when it stops being fun, it's really the point at which to kind of call it quits. And it's tough. I mean, making these decisions is gut-wrenching sometimes. And I thought that things wouldn't continue well. But I found a bigger audience and a newer audience on YouTube. And given myself the extra time to get an extra video out every week. And in fact, this is going to be the 4th video of this week. So doing this extra content is an extra thing as well. And I've got the resources and the energy to do that now. And I enjoy it so much. I really hope that this stuff takes off too. Me just cruising around shooting the shit. It's an outlet for me. I do catch up with friends and things like that. But just getting out by myself and rambling about whatever's around me is kind of a cathartic thing. It unknots things and eases tension and all that kind of stuff. And we're back into the roadworks area here. So I'll slow down a little bit. A lot more people out right now, a lot of trucks going to work and things like that. Slow down some more. That's the thing about us here in Australia. We do tend to obey road rules a lot more than some other places. Yes, there are dash cam video YouTube channels showing all the times that people screw up and don't do the right thing. But the fact that they have dash cam video channels shows that there are fewer of them than would be otherwise the case. So when we get down a couple of kilometres further down, we're going to turn off to the left to Wyndham Harbour, which is a whole bunch of nice apartments. Again, there's somewhere I wouldn't mind living had I the opportunity, because living near the water, you always have changing scenery. The sea or the bays is never the same twice, and I kind of like that. I like that kind of approach in nature of the water. And even though I grew up well inland in Sydney, I loved going to the beach and I loved the ocean, and had I the opportunity to live near a large body of water, I'd take it up as long as I didn't have to give up good internet and all those other things that I find essential to quality of life. Good coffee shops as well. Fortunately, there are a lot of good coffee shops around Melbourne. It's one of the best coffee cities in the world, which started out with Italian immigration after World War II, and it expanded from there, and people just turned making coffee into an art form, which I totally love, and I respect everybody who works hard at that kind of thing. And I try to do it at home with my own coffee making by getting decent beans and tuning the grinder and tuning in the portafilter and making sure the portafilter is clean. Doing all of that coffee snob wonky stuff and making a decent cup of coffee first thing in the morning is something I love to do. And if you're going to be a snob, the best kind of snob to be is a coffee snob, because you're not really hurting anybody. You're just enjoying quality stuff. It's not an expensive kind of snobbery to have. It's not like you're collecting rare antiques or classic cars. Wine snobbery is even more expensive, but coffee snobbery is affordable. And if you're going to decide one day that you want to become a snob about something, your best bet's coffee snobbery. So here we are at Wyndham Harbour now, and everything from about, I'll show you where, but everything beyond a certain point here is reclaimed land, and there are lots of cool units around here. But and there are lots of good cafes as well. This place on the corner on the right is shit, but there are a lot of good cafes around here as you head towards the marina. Everything from about here onwards is reclaimed land. It didn't exist previously. So I'm not sure if my coffee shop's open, but I'm going to go down there and just check it out and make sure and see whether it is. And I will be back in just a moment when I have checked it out and acquired a coffee, should I have the means. Okay, we're back, and I've got coffee and I've got water. And I'm going to take you along the marina and then down to the beach, and I will end this little video of mine. There's a mini golf over there, by the way, which is where the coffee place is attached. And hopefully business will be nice for them, because they're nice people there. There's also a restaurant built into a whole bunch of shipping containers over there on the left, and a Victorian container deposit scheme there on the left too. If you have reusable bottles, like reusable plastic bottles in Victoria, and you put them through that machine back there, they pay you 10 cents a bottle. I'll talk about that in a moment, but here is the marina, which has got lots of expensive boats and some not so expensive ones. But all of the marina is like artificial land. They built it up out of all of the bluestone that's around here and built the walls and the breakwaters and things like that. Really nice area though. Parking here on a weekend is a nightmare, so you don't ever come down here on the weekend. You always make sure you come during a weekday, and usually not during school holidays in summer. There's actually free barbecues over there on the left too, under those umbrellas, where the free electric barbecues, you can just bring your meat and your vegetables and cook them up there and have a barbecue for nothing basically, which is very cool. And there are a lot of them around here. There are some more of them down at the beach as well. But it's time for me to drink some of my coffee because it'd be horrible if I got cold. But yeah, that's good. They do a nice cup there. So you'll see more of the bay as we come along here, or the embayment rather than the bay. This is where we came down when there were all of those Aurora Australis Southern Lights. We came down here at night time and met up with a couple of friends and went down to these little beaches down here along the bay because they gave us the best view of the Southern Lights, which was very cool and very surreal. And the place was packed. Everybody from everywhere locally came down here to check out the Southern Lights. So if I had been smarter, what I would have done was just gone out into the countryside and found a paddock somewhere well away from the city lights, and I would have seen them just as well. But here we got to see them across the bay, and there was almost a flash mob festival of people just coming down here, and we parked just right here to enjoy the Southern Lights, which felt surreal and fun at the same time. We had a bit of cloud, but not too much, so we actually did get to see lots of reds and greens and other weird colours from basically a solar storm. And here is Werribee Beach. Some of this is reclaimed sand. They actually pumped it out of the mouth of the Werribee River, which is down further, and pumped it about 1 kilometre down here to get all of the sand and stuff out of the mouth of the river, which causes flooding if it backs up, and increase the beaches. But yeah, summertime, tons of people come down here for picnics and to just have a groovy time. And a lot of people just don't know it's here, even if they live locally. A lot of people just never come down here, which is an incredible pity, really, because it's a beautiful area. It's right on the waterfront. There are enormous amounts of seabirds, particularly down here. If you look ahead, you'll see the hills. They're the Uyang Mountains, and that's the Werribee River. That's the mouth of the Werribee River, just there. And I will go down a little bit closer when we get a bit further along. There's a local bus service too, so you can get down here if you need to. But yeah, it's just a beautiful area, and they're putting in a lot of infrastructure here, which is very nice. And it looks like they're doing the usual winter thing of dredging. There's a dredging barge just there, about to do its stuff. And there are also a bunch of boat ramps down here as well. So you can see over there on the left, there's another barbecue and seating area. There's lots of boats and get out here. If you go down here, this is where you park your trailers when you take your boats out from the launching ramps. And all of this infrastructure keeps getting updated because the council is wealthy with money, because there are lots and lots of houses going up in our council area. And so the council rates keep increasing in the number of rates they've got. And so there's a lot more money for kind of social infrastructure. And they spend it on social infrastructure. They don't just spend it on dumb things. And in fact, I will do a video when we've got the Firefly Winter Festival next week. in one of the local parks, where there are going to be circus acts there. There are incredible light displays. There's food and drink. There's tons of stuff there. And we went there last year, and they had an enormous phoenix built, which stood about 8 meters tall, and it was all lit up with lights. It was fantastic to see. And so we're going to do the Firefly Festival next week, and I will shoot video for it for the Patreon supporters, and then of course I'll dump it onto the channel at some stage in the future. But I'm giving Patreon supporters such as possibly yourself first dibs on all of the video. Again, this is a place where I wouldn't mind living in Werribee South. It's a little bit further away from shops and infrastructure, but it's not too bad. And it's a groovy place. Actually, what I will do is I'll fast forward from here until we get near the K Cliffs, the Werribee Cliffs on the Werribee River. And I'll tell you something interesting about those when we get there. Okay, we're coming up towards the K Cliffs now, which are the K Road Cliffs of Werribee River. We're heading up towards the zoo as well here, but the cliffs are interesting because they're not big cliffs particularly, but they do have various sedimentary layers, and you won't see it, but I'll tell you something interesting about it. They're off to the left down here, and I'll try to slow down a bit as we get near them. They're down in between the trees there on the left. But if you go down towards the bottom of the cliffs there's a dark layer in the soil, which you only see if you go walking down there. And that's because of a volcanic eruption that happened in the area 12,000 years ago. There was a whole bunch of scoria and pumice covering the whole area. And in fact, the volcano is not too far from my house. It's about 2.5 kilometers from my house. And the hill is still there where the volcano was. And the thing is that the volcano, like all the volcanoes on the western side of the state of Victoria, it's not extinct, it's just dormant. These things could reactivate at some stage in the future. And we end up with a scoria volcano in the middle of a suburban area, which would be kind of interesting. Not great for real estate values, but interesting nonetheless. And I kind of like the fact that I live near a volcano, which most people, even if you live here, don't know about it. It took me like 6 years living here to know there was a volcano nearby, because nobody puts that in the brochures. Here's one of the places here on the right where they sell fruit and veg and things like that. And we're coming up on the left to the entrance to Werribee Park Zoo. And I will definitely do a video from Werribee Zoo, because it's kind of cool. And you can get really close to the lions. You get really close to the rhinos too, and the giraffes as well. But before you get to the zoo, there's this thing on the left, which is the equestrian area. So when there are all big horse races, all of the horses live here before they get taken in towards the city to where the race courses are. And so there's a lot of horses turn up here at various stages in the springtime. But on the left soon is the entrance to the zoo. I really want to get back there, though wintertime isn't the best time to go there. And at the moment it's not the best time because of school holidays here. So it'll be tons of kids screaming and ranting, and middle-aged geek girl and I kind of don't like going to places where there are lots of kids who usually have COVID in and around. We like kids, but we don't like them en masse. So we're coming to the end of the market garden area again. So I'm going to end the video here. So thanks a lot for watching this. If you lasted this long, you're a bloody hero. If you didn't, you're not going to hear this. So yeah, thanks a lot for being a part of this drive and for letting me show you bits of the area in which I live. And if you are a Patreon supporter, thank you very much for being one. I appreciate the support that I get and the kindness I get from Patreon supporters. You really are legends, and you're supporting people who are trying to share the world with other people, and that in itself is an act of grace. So till next time, I'll leave it here, heading back into Werribee now, and there will be more videos in the future. I will take you to other places around here which are kind of fun and kind of interesting. I might even do the local trash and treasure market in the future. But anyway, that's it for this time around. Catch you guys later.